Hey everybody, it's Brad with another Floriani Total Control U video for you today. And today we're going to be doing a technique that I think is cool and also easy. A customer brought me in a picture of something that she had done, and it was this particular design from Embroidery Library here. It is Winter Bunny Silhouette Embossed, where you've got this embossing that's holding down the nap of the towel back here, and then the body of the bunny rabbit is all negative space. And I love this stuff. This is like, I love this type of minimalistic art. It's one of my favorite things, and it's actually really easy to do in software. It's very similar to a video that I did in the past on monogram towel embossing. It's basically the same idea. So we're going to learn how to do this using stuff that's built into the software. So we've got a bunny rabbit built into the custom shape. So we should be able to get pretty close to replicating this. And then I'm going to show you how to take it a step further and find cool custom stuff online to be able to make your own embossed animal of whatever animal or person or whatever you want it to be to do this same effect. Let's see. Looking at this, it looks to me like the first thing that we're going to need to do is draw this kind of like amorphous blob back here. Now, I'm going to ignore for the time being the leaves and the tree branches, okay? We're going to get to that, but we're going to start with just working on making the bunny rabbit, okay? So looks like first step we're going to draw this kind of amorphous blob here, and what we don't do though is we don't try to draw the bunny rabbit in, right? We're going to use an existing bunny rabbit. We're not going to try to draw the bunny rabbit in there. I couldn't draw the bunny rabbit freehand if you put a gun to my head. I'm just not good at that. I need to copy. It's the only way I can do it because I'm just not real artistic. So anyway, let's get started. So first thing, blob. So we go to our software, and the first thing you want to do actually is select a hoop. Now I have my 9.5 by 9.5 hoop already selected in here, but if you go over to this button, looks like a little, it's like a picture of a hoop. You can hit select hoop. You can pick what format you use and what size hoop you want. It doesn't tell you in inches in here, but it does once you've selected it what that actual embroidery field is here. Now I'm going to do 240 by 240, which is 9.5 by 9.5. You can do whatever size you want. I'm just doing it just so that we have kind of a visual boundary of where not to exceed so that we know it's going to fit in the hoop that I want to use. So to draw our amorphous blob, there's a couple ways to approach that. I'm just going to draw it freehand using the pen tool here. So with the pen tool, you can left click and it will just put in points. If you want the points to not be flat points like that, you can hold down the control key while you click to kind of create curve. See how that I was holding down control and I clicked and it started to curve, and I can bring this around like that, and then to close the shape at the end you hit shift and C. So I've got kind of like a like a roundish shape here. We can go in and monkey with this to make it fit however we want just by hitting that shape tool. And notice my close point where it closed is a cusp, meaning it's like a hard point with like a straight line coming in and out of it. If you don't like that, you can actually left click that point and either delete it, or you can left click it, then right click it and change it to a smooth point. We'll smooth that up. But sometimes that monks up the other design, the other points. So you can always get a rogue point out of there just by hitting the delete key on your keyboard, right? So you can monkey with your amorphous blob however you like it, right? I'm not super concerned about the exact shape of this though, so I'm just going to let it lie. But what we're going to do here is we're going to hit the fill over here under properties. We make sure our amorphous blob is selected. Go in and make sure you put a check mark in fill there. That is required for the way that we're going to do this. I'm going to set this to a color. It doesn't really matter what color this is. I'm going to make it a dark blue, because that's what it is, and the one I'm ripping off. All right, so we've got our amorphous blob in there. Now we need to get our bunny. So where do we get our bunny? You go up to your shape tool, this one, and if you hover over it, a little flyout menu will pop out, and you can click on custom shape. Okay, you want to be looking in the folder custom shapes. So if you're on easy art, switch over to custom shapes. And right here in the first set of designs, we've got Bunny 002, and that's the one I'm going to pick. We also have Bunny 001. And we also have all of these other things. So it doesn't have to be a bunny. I'm doing the bunny because that way we can kind of compare one to one, the bunny embossed design that we generate. And I'm going to select that, and the bunny will just show up in my design field here. All right. Now I want him to be at the bottom, right? So we're going to move him down to the bottom, and then I'm going to make him a little bigger so that he fills in this space more, because we don't want him to be real tiny in that embossed space. And then we do want to have him kind of being cut out of the blob. All right, and if you need to go in and monkey with your blob shape a little bit, because what I'm looking for here is I don't want to have a sliver of embossed down here, but I do want to have this space in here to suggest his legs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and open up I'm going to click on the blob, and then I'm going to go over here and use my shape tool to kind of nudge this up so that this line is more or less parallel with his bottom leg. And it's okay if it cuts it off a little bit. I'm not worried about that. But I want to make sure I have this, but nothing underneath of his feet, because I think that would look stupid. So we're gonna leave that the way it is. Good. And then also the other thing is, if you got this real narrow space in here, that's not good for embossing. All right. So we've got our bunny rabbit is in place. Now, what we want to do to cut this bunny rabbit out of our amorphous blob is we want to select them both. All right, so there's a few ways you can do that. You can just left click and drag a box around them both, and you'll get them both selected. You can hit all items over here in your sequence view to accomplish the same thing, and that works great if you only have these two objects in the field, but it's a good idea to get used to using the control key to select multiple objects, because if we had these two and then like 15 other objects in the field, we would need to do it this way. If you left click on the blob and then hold down your control key on your keyboard and then left click on your bunny, it will select them both. And that way, if there was other stuff, I wouldn't be also selecting it. Anyway, so we get them both selected. We're going to right mouse click somewhere on the artwork, all right, and a flyout menu is going to come out. We go down to hover over transform artwork, and you want to do remove overlapped artwork, okay? Now you may be thinking to yourself, if you know stuff, why aren't you using combine? Well, we're not using combine because that's not what we are doing here. We don't want to cut a hole in this shape exactly. So what combine would do is cut a hole in, but you see how we've got a little bit of them sticking out there? If you hit combine, you get that little bit that's sticking out there shows up as part of the shape, and that's not what we want. So we want to go in and right click, transform artwork, remove overlapped artwork, okay? Boom. That has now cut this bunny rabbit out. I know it doesn't look like it because you can't see it in the field here, but if I grab that bunny and move him, you can see he's gone. But I don't want to grab that bunny and move him. I want to leave him in place because I may decide that I want to have a steel stitch outline going around where this bunny shape is. I know that's not in the original design, but we may want that. And if we do, we want to have this shape right here. So what we're going to do to get rid of him temporarily is we're going to go over to the sequence view. You see this eyeball next to that shape. You click the eyeball and he's gone, but not forgotten, because I can click the eyeball and he comes back. But he's gone for the purposes of not, seeing it there and having it look like it's in the way. So at this point, we could turn this into embossing and call it a day, but that wouldn't match our artwork, our design here, because we want to have his eyeball and his little cute little bunny inside ear and his cute little nose. We want to have those things as elements in our design too. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to just draw them in. So let's see, we're going to go in and I want to draw the little silk on the inside of his ear. Right now, that one's facing away from us. That one's facing towards us. Is the way that I see it. So we're going to go in and draw this in. I think the easiest way to do this is to use the artwork tool. And I want to left click kind of where I want the top of it to be. And then I'm going to put a point out here. And then down where I want the bottom to be. And then I'm just going to close the shape. I don't need to put a point here, and you'll see why in a minute. I only need these 2 points ultimately, but you'll see what I mean. So we're going to close the shape from here. Shift C. Okay, and then use the shape tool, this little icon here. We're going to go in and pull this. We're going to pull this line to the right. Okay, then we're going to delete this point. You left click and then delete, and then pull this line out to the left. And you see how we just have 2 points and a nice perfect little shape in there, like a little stretched out football shape. That is what shape I want this to be. And then I'm going to right click and nothing happens because you have to hit the select tool up here to generate that. There it is. I want to apply a stitch to this. Now, I know what type of stitch I want to use for it, but if you don't know what you should use, go over to the ruler tool and measure that space, and it'll tell you what you ought to use. So this is saying, hey, this is a narrow space. You should use a satin stitch, and I'm going to listen to that advice. So to make this a satin stitch, if you look right now, I'm on my ruler, all of these are grayed out. It's because you can't use your digitizing tools down here unless you are in the select tool. So we go to select. Then I'm going to use the satin stitch, and I'm going to choose this first one because I want to put my own inclination in. If you're nervous, you could choose this one instead, the auto satin tool. It automatically puts the inclination in, but I want to choose the stitch direction. I want it going right here, going all along this way so that my stitches are going to go just like that. I right click twice. So 1, 2, and there my stitches are generated. And then I also want to have a little satin stitch going along the side here, just like they've got in the design. I think that's a nice little dimensionality that they're adding to the design by doing that. So we're going to do that too. And the way we're going to do it is you're going to go back up to your pen tool. This time we're going to put just a single click here and then a single click here, and then right click to generate that shape. We're going to use the shape tool here, this guy, and then pull that out so that it mirrors this side of our satin fill. Then we're going to select it and go down here and choose the third tool from the left. It's the steel stitch. You're going to left click on that, and that puts our steel stitch in. But what's the problem here? Look at the ends. The ends are square, and that looks dumb and bad. So we're going to change that over in our properties. We're going to change the start line to be a sharp point and the stop line to be a sharp point, and choose apply. And that makes it a nice taper. Lovely, looks pretty, much more organic and like a part of a bunny rabbit than those square ends did. So that's our detail in the ear, right? And then we're gonna go and make a cute little nose for him. So we're gonna go in and say, okay, I want to draw a little triangle here. 1, 2, 3, close the shape, Shift C. And that's gonna just happen to be pink here, by the way. If you wanted to change the color at any time, you always can just by going and clicking on a color down here. But pink is the one that I want for this. Let's see. This time I'm gonna use the auto satin. There we go. Nice little nose. Okay, that looks pretty. And now the eye. So let's see. We're gonna draw the eye. Maybe I'll use a shape for this. We'll use the ellipse. Now his eye isn't gonna be a perfect circle, and we don't actually want it to be this orange color. I want it to be black, so I'm going to go to black, and then I want to kind of smoosh it. Oh, he looks mad. Like I said, I'm bad at art. So there we go, and then we'll say we'll make that a satin stitch too. Why not? That's why not. That looks terrible. Make it a fill. Okay, that's fine. And then we'll go ahead and set the density from 0.5 to 0.4. There's basically no situation, I feel, where 0.5 is the right density for a fill stitch. I don't understand why that's the default. But anyway, so we've got that, and then we need to put a little bit of white in there to make it look right. So I'm going to use the circle tool, put the little bit of white in, like there, make it white, make it a fill. And then we kind of figure out where we want it. Say we want it. He really does look mad. This is an angry bunny, which is fine. Fine with me to have an angry bunny. All right, so now we've got that. So if we are nervous about using artwork assets from outside of this program, and you watch the rest of this video and you're like, holy crap, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. Then at this point, we have a valid design that can sew out. Now we may want to go in and kind of edit the outline of, you know, this outer part of the shape to be a little more interesting. You know, you could go in and kind of do kind of like a wavy line effect like this would be cool and interesting, right? So I'm going in and kind of pulling in and pulling out this shape, right? So we could go in and do something like that to get a little bit more interest in our shape without having to import a picture of a tree and have that cut out the design. So this is definitely a valid way to go in and make a cool looking outline, right? So let's say that that's what we wanted to do. We just go in and pull those shapes out. Once we're satisfied with it, the way that you create the embossing, right? Now there's multiple options for how to do this. This is the way I'm going to show you. If you find a way that you like better, just do it that way. It's fine. So I'm going to grab the two pieces of my outline here, which is my embossing, which is this piece and this piece, and then I'm going to turn them into a motif fill. That's the third star. It's gray. You left click on that. All right, and then that's going to create the motif fill. Now, the one that I personally like to use, okay, a lot of these work for this, but the one that I like to use is, if you look under properties, it's F, we go over here, we scroll down, F061 creates a nice embossing effect, and it doesn't take too long to sew out. Okay, you can experiment. There's a ton of these that work, and I also like to set my pattern size to 2 so that it's really pretty dense. But if we look in here, it's just this repeating X shape is what that makes, and that holds down the nap of the towel really well. So that is a complete design. We could take this and sew it out on a towel, and it would look really cool and replicate that effect. Now, what if we want it to be just like the other one and we want to have the trees coming in? I'm going to show you how to do that because it's actually really neat. I'm going to just hit undo until we're back to the way that it was. So here it is. So what we want to do is we want to find a silhouette, like a JPEG or a PNG of a silhouette of whatever we want that detail to be. Okay, so if I want it to be a cool looking tree, I would go into Google and I would search for something like cool tree silhouettes, right? So here's one. This is one that we can use. So I'm going to use these leaves and branches from this tree, and we're going to save it. Right click, save as. I just did a Google search for cool tree. So we're going to do cool tree leaves. All right. cooltreeleaves.jpg, so it's in there. And the way we bring that in to the software in a way that we can use it with our outline is we go up to this wizard hat here, and we're going to choose Auto Artwork Wizard. All right. So we don't do auto digitizing, you don't do file and open. This is how you bring this artwork in. Any other way is not going to work. Okay, so Auto Artwork Wizard, and then we're going to select the image. Here it is, Cool Tree Leaves. Now, if it's got, let me hit next here. If it's got, like, you know, stuff down at the bottom here, you want to crop that out, although it doesn't really matter that much for this because we're not using the entirety of the design. We're just using some of the leaves, okay? So if we hit next here, we'll see that we've cropped it down to there, although we still have that black line at the bottom. I'm going to crop it more until again, it doesn't matter. I don't even know why I'm doing this. There's no reason for me to worry about there being that black line at the bottom. But I'm going to hit next. Okay, no more black line at the bottom. And all we have to do is hit next here. We just hit next, and then we hit finish, and here is our tree element that we can use to cut out more negative space out of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to size this to however big we want our leaf parts to be, right? And then I'm going to take it and rotate it a little bit, and I'm just going to put this in there, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing I did with the bunny rabbit. All right, I'm going to select the tree, and then I'm going to select this background up here. I'm holding down Control. I select both of them, right? Left click one, hold down Control, left click the other. Then I can do that same operation. Right click, transform artwork, remove the overlap. Okay, so somehow we managed to break everything. What did I do here? Let's see. We're going to get rid of this big black area. And then we're going to get rid of all of this excess. Okay, so if something weird happens like that, the important thing is not to panic. Okay? So it's all good. All I had to do is just delete the rest of that black, and it all came back. Okay, so that cut those shapes out of here. Now, I think that the problem is just that particular image that I used was so complicated that it kind of confused the software. But as you can see, all I needed to do was delete all that black that showed up for some reason, and I've got my negative space cut out of my design here. Now, if we want to do that again, we can get that same shape back. And let's see, what happens if I keep it just to this? Let's see if it does a better, like, if it's easier for it to handle it, if it's just like a smaller section of it. So I'm just going to hit next here. And then what if I do just this part? Let's see, we'll make it a little bigger. But you see where I'm going with this, right? Oh, get this whole thing back here. So I may have made it a little too big. And maybe a simpler shape would have been better. I'm not sure. But let's see. We go in here and we remove the overlap. Let's see if it makes a big giant mess again. So I think it was just a matter of, I had too complicated a shape going on, because that time it didn't do it. And we can grab this same shape, and instead of deleting it this time, we can just move it. We do have some extra going on here. Let's see, is that everything? No. We've got to make sure we get all the black. It kind of broke up our black artwork a little bit. Yeah, so I did this earlier with a much less complicated shape, and it was actually easier to do, because I think the thing that is breaking it up is the fact that these leaves are separate from the rest of the tree. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to call an audible here, and I'm going to undo this. I'm going to say that when you're choosing the artwork to do this with, maybe do one that doesn't have the leaves as separate objects. Okay, you see what I mean by that? Like, the leaves are not connected to the branches, and I think that is what's causing the issue that's making it challenging. Now, I could make it work, but I would rather do something that's easier. So I'm going to leave this in the video just so you can kind of see that there are things like that can happen, and all you got to do is pick a different image. So I actually have the one that I used earlier that I just thought wasn't as pretty. So I'm going to do Auto Artwork Wizard, and there's a tree here that didn't have the leaves. So this one I know doesn't create all that mess. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit next and next and finish, and here it is. I can take him and rotate him and then size him up however big I need him. Right? He's just not as pretty as the other one was, but I can push this in to create that that tree effect. And then if I select him and the outline, right click, transform artwork, remove overlap, and it just cuts it right out. And then we can reposition the, oops, didn't mean to do that, undo. We can reposition the tree and put him over on the other side, and we can move him around as many times as we need. And I want him to be on top though, so let's move him last. Move last. Okay, and then we'll just ignore all the little bits of black that get broken off. We'll delete all those. We'll delete all those later. So we go in, we move this in, and then we select both again. We right-click, transform, remove overlap. Boom. So there's another section of it. right? And then you can continuously do this until you've got all that you want in the design. All right, now this needs to be last. Move last. Select both elements. Right click. Transform artwork. Remove overlapped artwork. Okay, now I'm going to go in and just get rid of all of the little bits of the tree that are left over. Okay, that's all artwork. Get rid of that. That's all artwork. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And then we leave the fill. Okay. And then we also want to get rid of any little tiny bits of blue that are kicking around. Okay, so we want anything that isn't a relatively large piece, we want to get rid of. We don't want to have these little itty bitty slivers, because that is going to make kind of a mess. So we can go in and actually look at these little tiny pieces and get rid of them. Those pieces are big enough, so we're going to leave those. And once we've cleaned it up a little bit, okay, everything's looking pretty good. Let's move him up with his friends. We're going to take this whole thing, we're going to go in and do that same motif. We're going to choose a F061 is the one I like. And then we make it tighter by setting the pattern size to 2 instead of 3. And now we've got the tree branches embossed into the background here. And so that you can pick any image you want as long as it's a silhouette. You can use the auto artwork wizard to turn it into something that will create this effect. So that particular one that I used isn't the greatest, and I think that that if I found one that had thicker branches, that we could do a better job with it. So if I look in here and maybe this one, well, no, see, those are separate, so we don't want that. Here we go. This one might be a really good one, right? So we could have chosen this one to do, or those may be just as skinny as the ones that I did. But you get the idea. We can go, oh, look at this one. This one would have been really good. So I think this would have been a nice one, where we could just go in and use him. Let's see, this saves as a weird format, so that wouldn't work. But you get the idea. You go in and you find one that looks like looks like it's something you're interested in using as part of that background. Now it doesn't have to be tree leaves, obviously. Let's say we wanted to have like a cool, I don't know, a biker bunny rabbit theme and have like flames in there or something instead. We could do that. So if I undo all the way back to before I had, I'm just hitting undo, all the way back to before I had put the tree in at all. Okay, and I choose a different image, auto artwork wizard. I have these cool flames that I downloaded. This works the same way. So I could go in, bring these in. I'm just hitting next and yes and finish. And I could have these flames embossed going all the way along here, right? And that would be cool looking, I think. And maybe instead of doing it in stages, maybe I take this, oh, come on, size down a little bit. I take this and I copy it using this. This little button in the corner makes a copy. And then let's see, we'll mirror image it. Maybe have this coming in from this side. Right, and I could do it again. I could have it going along down here if I wanted to. Well, but let's say we want to just do this and then this. So I've selected my background, I've selected my artwork, right click, transform, remove the overlap. Then we can delete our black out of there. And now we've got cool flames, right? It goes with how angry our bunny is. so you get the idea there. Now, the same process could be used to get the silhouette shape itself of, of what we're trying to do. So maybe we're not trying to do a bunny rabbit. We want to do like a biker theme from the beginning and have a cool skull in here, maybe, like, so let's say that that's what we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and make a new page, bring my hoop back up, and just to save time, I'm going to bring in just an oval as my background shape. It came in white, so let's change that so we can actually see it. We'll fill it, and then I want to bring in my artwork, and I downloaded a cool skull earlier, right? And we're going to bring him in, and I'm just going to say yes and next to everything here. Like, you just have to say yes and next and finish, and there it is. Now this actually, I should have cropped it probably, but I'll just delete that little extra bit there, and then we'll size this guy up. And now this one, I think what I want to do is I want to have the jaw be like a separate piece, right? So we'll have the embossing going all in here, and then we're going to have the jaw be a fill, and then the whole skull be an emboss, right? So I think that that would look cool. And when we do this, we want to still have these shapes. We want to have the shapes of the eyes and the shapes of the nose, but because that's part of our artwork in this one, we don't need to draw them in. So what we want to do is we want to take this whole design here, the skull and the jaw, and I'm going to copy and paste it. Okay, so I've got two versions of it. I'm going to change the color of the second one so that I can keep them, keep them separate in my mind, and then I'm going to hide the second one. Oh, speaking of hiding, we never brought our bunny back to see what it would look like with an outline in here. So let's do that real quick, just for the heck of it. I'm going to go in and make him a motif. Oh, and I missed part of him. I should have combined these colors together. Whoops. But so there's our embossed bunny. Now what would it look like if we also had a satin stitch? Let's make it the same color as the emboss. So does that look better? I don't know. It's up to you whether you think it looks better or not. But let's see. This needs to move so that it's after this. There we go. So it's up to you. Like, that's like like an artistic choice whether you want to have that satin stitch around there. I think it adds like a nice definition to a design like this, but it's not necessary. So anyway, so that is that's the finish of the bunny. Now back over here. We've hidden our second one, right, so that it's not in the way when we combine this one. Okay, so we're going to go in, and I want to go in here and remove the overlap. So we're going to select this and this, right click, transform artwork, remove the overlap. And actually, I'm just realizing we didn't need to make this copy, because when I remove the overlap, it actually created these separate parts. Duh. Okay, well, so we didn't actually need to copy and paste that, so we could actually delete. Here, I'm going to bring him back, and then I'm going to delete him. So we didn't actually need that second skull, because when I removed the overlap, it actually created these pieces in here. So I can delete the black part of the skull, right? And these guys are still there. So I'm going to make these parts black. And then we'll make this part the embossing. And then let's see what it says to make this. It's telling me to make a fill for that. So we're going to go ahead and have both these two be a fill stitch. These two will be satin stitches. And then for the jaw, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the jaw ought to be a... Well, we kind of have a choice here. What if we made the jaw a steel stitch outline? How would that look? And then he's kind of still with the negative space theme. Let's see what it looks like in 3D. Well, obviously this is out of order because Yeah, okay, this is first for some reason. This should be last. There we go. So I mean that looks pretty cool, and then this would be a good candidate for having flames around it, I think. Okay, I just had to cut because I monkeyed around with trying to get the flames to merge with this, and I realized how to fix it. So rather than have you watch me goof around for 10 minutes trying to figure this out, anyway, like I was saying, I think this is a good candidate for flames because it's an awesome skull, and flames are cool, and so are skulls. So what we want to do is merge the flames with this embossing here. Now, if you've already got something that is stitching, what you want to do to change it back is you go in and select the stitch and use this icon here. Just converts an object back to artwork. We're going to fill it back in because once you convert it to artwork, it just brings you just the outline. And then we're going to bring in flames by going to Wizards, Auto Artwork, and select the cool flames. Then we are going to just hit next and finish. Now, I was having a heck of a time trying to get the flames to do what I wanted them to do, which was to weld to my background fill here, and I couldn't get it to work, and I couldn't figure out why. It's because there's just too many points in here. If you look at the shape here, look at that. That is not great. That's way too many points. And also, if you look at our artwork, once we had it do the remove overlap stitches, it created way more points than it needed. Now, this software actually has a thing that fixes that, though. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our flames, we're going to right-click and choose Simplify Smoothen. And what that's going to do is it's going to vastly reduce, just leave these in the middle, that's going to vastly reduce the amount of points that are in our shapes. Okay, so if we look at it again, it's still a lot, but it's way less than it was. And if we do the same thing to the artwork out here, right-click, Simplify Smoothen, just say OK. It's going to come in. It changes it a little bit, but look at our points now. So much easier to work with. Okay, so that makes the software mucho happier when it has less of that to go to deal with. So we're going to take and let's see. We'll just what I'm going to do is I'm going to go have this go across the top like this, and then I'm going to edit my my amorphous blob here. I'm going to add a point here and just kind of pull this out. And I'm not going to make it as, I'm not going to make it perfect and like super, super pretty because, I'm not going to actually use this for anything. But we can take this and maybe stretch this out a little bit more. Maybe go in and pull some of these flames down so that they're kind of merging, because we can edit this shape. It's just an outline. So that they're kind of merging with that. If we wanted to kind of curve it a little bit, we could spend the time to get this, pull some of these points out and maybe start curving them around. But anyway, once you get it so that you've got it positioned where you want it, you just select both objects and then right click. This time under Transform Artwork, you choose Weld, and it will weld the two pieces together and make them one continuous outline. Okay, so this can now be converted. It set the color to be black, which we can just go in and change it to whatever color we want. But I can now turn this into the embossing. And of course, it, for whatever reason, just broke my embossing. Wonderful. So let's see what we got going on here. Looks like there's some kind of cut in our shape. Let's take this and see if we can't simplify this shape again. Simplify Smooth. And then actually what we might do is, it looks like, what if we break this apart? No. Of course, I just spent 10 minutes trying to figure out how to make one thing work, and then I did it slightly differently to what I did last time. Let's see, what is this break? You know what I'm going to do? If you do this, if you zoom way out like this and then lose your design, like, oh, where's my design? You just go up here choose to fit. Anyway, I'm going to undo this because this didn't happen to me last time I did this. And I'm just going to reposition this guy a little bit and then do this over again. I'm going to select both of them and do, you know what, those might have been right along this line here. Weld it and see. Okay, this time we didn't get that gap. So I think that was probably what the problem was. Let's see. Go in here, pick a color, make it a motif fill, and this time it worked. Yeah, so, you know, sometimes working with artwork, you got to monkey with a little bit, as you can see. But here we go. We've got our embossing with the cool flames at the top. So you can really make whatever you want with this technique. I mean, I did the bunny rabbit to replicate the one that was the first one that I saw, and I did the skull because I like skulls, but it can be anything, and we can even go in and edit our points while it stitches. So I'm actually going in and kind of editing my outline to kind of make it a little more pleasing to me. But yeah, I mean, once this is done, you could take this and sew it out and have that same cool technique. We could even probably, what if we wanted to have a cool, like a crack in the skull, because there's a lot of emptiness going on right here. I mean, it'd be easy to draw like a satin stitch crack in the skull, like if we wanted to do like a little, let's see, we'll kind of follow the contour of the top and then have it close the shape and then make that black and make it a satin stitch, right? So like there's like that, but we could probably also, using the same technique that we did here, we could probably combine this with this and have that be an embossed part. Let's see what happens if we do it. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to try to get away with doing this without, oops, didn't mean to move it. I'm going to try to get away with doing this without simplifying it because I think this shape is simple enough. It's not going to matter. So I select those two, transform and weld. Look at that. Yeah, that's going to be cool. So we make it whatever color we're making our embossing, and then we do our embossing. We set it to F061. And look, I've got... So that's a really, really cool thing. So anyway, it's pretty straightforward how this works. And I hope that you learned something from watching this video. And I'll see you next month. Thanks for watching.